In a world full of noise, pressure and shifting opinions, holding firm to what you believe can sometimes feel like you're standing alone in a storm. Whether it's in the workplace, in relationships or on the public stage, staying true to your values can sometimes come at a cost, but also a powerful reward. To discuss, I'm joined by psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens with me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Why is having the courage of your convictions so important in today's world?
I think for all of those reasons that you said, and we see increasing examples of people being courageous and standing up and speaking their truth. And I think one of the things that happens is when we don't do it, it really can impact our self-respect and how we feel that we interact with other people. So we know that when people are able to speak to the courage of their convictions, it really does help them feel like they're being a bit more authentic and they're doing and saying things that's consistent with what they think is important to them and their values.
What are some of the common barriers that people might face when trying to speak up for what they believe in, though?
Yeah, this is one of the things I often have conversations with people about what is it that holds you back. And I think sometimes people find it hard to maybe find the words, that they might feel that they're going to be judged by what they're going to say, they might feel rejected, or that often when we're speaking to our convictions, it's a definite position that we're holding, and when someone holds a different position to us, that might be tricky to navigate. So it's a lot of those things that people find challenging and feeling that you're not going to fit in. So that's some of the common barriers that I often hear people talk about.
So how can knowing your values then help you better stand by your convictions?
Yeah, so your values are really a handy thing to be mindful about and know what they are. And I know you and I have talked about values many times before, but I think if you know what the things are that are important to you, and I often work on this with sporting teams, we often talk about our values and then say as we go through challenging times, if you're making decisions that are consistent with your values or you're having a conversation that's consistent with your values, it really helps you to navigate some of those trickier moments in life. So I think when you know what your values are, when you talk about them with your family, within your organisations, it becomes much easier to become aligned with them.
How does self-awareness play into this?
Yeah, so self-awareness is always our foundation for everything, isn't it? Because if you don't recognise that I'm about to do or say something that's not consistent with my values, if I don't notice that I'm feeling a bit nervous about this or I'm holding back from doing something, then I'm really never going to get to the place that I want to get to. Self-awareness, and I often refer to it as that ability to personally look in the mirror and reflect on ourselves and how we're going, is a really great starting point, and that's what I always start with when I'm supporting people in this kind of area.
What are some of the strategies that people can use to overcome the fear of being judged when standing up for ourselves or standing up by our values?
Yeah, such a great question. I think to start off with, I think a good place to start with is, why is this important? Why is this particular matter, whatever it is, something that making me feel like I want to be courageous in this situation? So I think when we understand why we want to do something, it sets us up well then for making those better decisions for us. And then you can do really little practical things, like if you know it's a conversation you're going to have, maybe you can practice the conversation. I've often rehearsed conversations in front of the mirror or in the car when I've been driving along, just so I've practiced saying the words. And I guess the people that you surround yourself with, if they're authentic in their conversations and their messages, you can learn skills by watching others when you see other people be brave and speak whatever the courageous thing is they want to say.
How can showing courage influence others that are around us, whether that be our adult counterparts or even younger children or teens? How can courage influence others?
Yeah, so we have courageous role models in our lives. Like, all of us can probably think of people who have made courageous decisions, and they're not necessarily the bravest of people, but they've stepped up and they've done something and they've said something that they believe in. And one of the good things we know is that when you're in an environment where people are being courageous, it's almost like it's contagious. We notice other people do it. We see those people as role models. And I think if we think about what we want for children and teens, it's a skill to learn, and they're only really going to learn it, or one of the best ways for them to learn it is to observe it in others. I've sometimes had conversations with my own sons, and they're adults now, but when they were children, I would sometimes talk about some of my more difficult conversations if it was appropriate, but also probably not so much about what I said or the other person, but what did I do myself to make myself be able to do that. So I think the more that we can role play it, the more that we can, and use ourselves as a role model as well, that will help others get the courage to make their own courageous conversations.
Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. You are on ABC Queensland.